technical death metal.
How you doing? My name is Lachlan Watt and music is my life. This week my guests are a couple of shredders from New Zealand, bassist Nick Smith and guitarist Stuart Henley-MINCHIngTON of Blindfolded and Led to the Woods. We had this all-around sleep-deprived chat before playing a show together while they were in Melbourne the other week. But before that, I had played a rather eventful show at them 10 years ago in their hometown of Christchurch. But even before then, I knew of the band from a video that went viral back in 2010 called Technical Death Metal Band on Kids TV Show.
Right now, turn it up in every city. How about that, eh? Please welcome our guest band for today, Blindfolded and Led to the Woods. And welcome along to the show. Different sound to you guys, isn't it?
Yep, technical death metal.
Now, it's safe to say that things have changed a lot for Blindfolded since they became a meme all the way back then. They now have 4 full-length albums under their belt, and this will soon be 5 when The Hardest Thing About Being God Is That No One Believes Me, their second album for Prosthetic Records, will drop just in time for their first ever US tour next month. My name is Lachlan Watt, music is my life. Now let's get into the story of Blindfolded and Led to the Woods. Cheers. You guys have been a band for 15 years now, right? 2010 it started?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It makes me feel a little bit old when you say that, but yeah.
And so when I look on your YouTube at the video that introduced me to the band in the first place, Technical Death Metal Band on Kids TV Show, it says like uploaded 15 years ago. So you guys must have done that very, very early on.
Yeah, it was literally I think it was my first gig with the band, because then I did my proper first gig like the weekend after or whatever.
It was actually our second ever gig. So we had done one gig previous to that when Nick wasn't in the band, and then that whole thing happened, and obviously it kind of like went a bit crazy online, which wasn't particularly ideal because we weren't a good unit yet, so it was weird.
But it is kind of funny, like now, like still 15 years later, people talk about it and are like, oh, I got into you because of that. And so they've kind of like grown up with us a little bit, which is kind of cool, at least. But yeah, like we go through phases of like hating that video, but also like embracing it. So
yeah, you look at it, it's got like over 500,000 views and just eclipses everything else on the channel.
It's just like clockwork. Every year or two, like Metal Injection or Loudwire or someone will pick it back up and be like, remember the time that, so it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been talking to people about playing this gig tonight. I'm playing tell them I'm playing with Blindfolded and Led to the Woods from New Zealand. They're like, oh, I never heard of them. And I'm like, do you remember that video of the kids death metal band on the kids TV show? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. I think, you get that too. Some people are surprised like we're still a band, I think, or like might have just like seen the clip, not realized who we are, and then like years later put the two together that we're the same band still, Yeah.
Yeah, you were saying before, it's been 10 years almost exactly a couple of days ago since we met.
Yeah, in Christchurch when Colossus came and played.
Yeah, and I remember, I can't remember exactly what you said, but just kind of I think we were talking about this, just like the kids' TV show thing, and you're like, please make sure you just like watch us tonight. We're so much better these days. Like we're actually a serious band. And then it was like your first show as a 4-piece. I remember your singer announcing like half a song into the set.
Yeah. Our previous guitarist, we had him forcibly removed from the set, from the stage during the set, just to submit indiscretions, which definitely wasn't our finest moment. That's probably one of the. I mean, we actually probably played all right as a 4-piece. I vaguely remember it being fine, but
hey man, please take us seriously. Like we're doing it for real now, and then that happens.
yeah.
Come on, man.
So tonight's like the third time lucky to try and redeem this cycle. So we've obviously had a few lineup changes since then. So
and you have put out a number of incredibly impressive albums.
It's probably not long after, maybe a year or two after that show, that we sort of, I think, not that we didn't take it seriously, but we definitely realized we could have been taking it more seriously. And sort of when Ben joined the band, our now previous guitarist as well, that was kind of like the pivot that we sort of started taking it, like treating it more like a business and not just like partying with the boys in a band to play music.
Yep.
That was probably the turning point, really.
Yeah, and that was around the time we did Nightmare Withdrawals, which, that was kind of the album where it's like, all right, well, let's do this properly now. We've been mucking around for a long time. So I always feel like that's kind of the album where we actually started, and everything before that is kind of like, it is what it is. It was just us being kids growing up. And then, like I say, Nightmare Withdrawals onwards has been a completely different beast altogether.
So, Christchurch, very small city. How does a technical death metal band get together in a city like that? What was it like in the early days finding people to bring the band together and make it a thing?
Well, I think the Christchurch had always had like a really good metal scene in general, like out of the whole country. There just seemed to be more bands coming out of Christchurch, like metal bands coming out of Christchurch. But I mean, Stu, we'd all played in like other bands when we were younger, and we'd played shows together and that kind of thing. And then like one of my previous bands, Blindfolded's first show, we played on the same bill, and they didn't have a bass player, and I was just like, if you guys need a bass player, like I'd be keen to do some stuff on this. But there's also like the jazz school in Christchurch, which just pumped out heaps of awesome musicians, like, and lots of them got into metal, like Levi from Organectomy went to jazz school and stuff like that. So there is a really good community, and it is quite definitely a small city compared to Melbourne or other cities. But it's always been a pretty tight knit community, and I think like also going through like the earthquakes and stuff that we had around 2010, 2011, I don't know, everyone kind of, it just like produced some really cool art, like not even just music, but like throughout the city. So that's kind of the basis of Christchurch, I guess.
I think the hardest thing has always been finding really solid drummers. There's lots of people playing crazy stuff on guitar. It's probably like that in most cities.
Drummers are always the rarity.
Yeah, and now we have a drummer that lives in Australia, so that that tells you, we had to really outsource to kind of find the right guy for what we're doing. So, but it's good for
Was he from New Zealand originally, or is he Australian born?
No, he's Australian. Yeah, he lives in Adelaide. So when we play in Christchurch, we've got to fly him over. And Dan lives in Wellington now, so he flies down from Wellington. So for us to really do anything now, it's like quite a thing. But, we're making it work. And when we come to Australia, it makes things a bit easier. So, and when, like USA later in the year, we'll all just meet there. Well, no,
No, I think we're all going.
Cooter's coming here, and then we're all going together. So you figure things out, you know.
Yeah, so you said it was around like 2014 that you really sort of started pushing very seriously, and
I think it was probably later than that actually, because like that, probably Ben joined in 2018, so it was probably around then. I think was really so. Yeah, we were 8 years of a band. Like, we were already 2 albums deep at that point.
Yeah.
But it was like we were just DIYing it, like just playing shows, and like we first played Australia in 2018. We like booked Sydney and Melbourne by ourselves, and went all right. And then that was kind of like a moment where we're like, okay, we've done that. What can we do now to make it better? So yeah, probably like Stu saying, it's like 2 distinct bands almost. But like when you've been a band for 8 or 9 years, you can't really we didn't want to change the name or anything.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of cool that you listen to the discography, you can sort of almost hear the progression as we get older and like more mature.
Yeah, you really can.
Yeah.
I think between like Nightmare Withdrawals and Rejecting Obliteration, even like there's just such a massive step up in how deep and sort of complicated and just progressive I think the songwriting has become. So you really can see the distinct eras of the band. But was Australia your first international tour?
Yeah, 2018. Yeah. And then we came back in 2023 for the release of Rejecting, and we did Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide. And then, so this will be our third time here.
And then have you done Europe yet, or is it just
the
the States?
Just the States later this year. Visas approved, everything. So after we were supposed to go last year, but we had some visa issues, and they told we'd spent like all this money to get the visa, and they're like, oh, actually you're not quite at the level that you need to be. And then like we had to challenge that decision, pay more money, and then they approved it, and it was a whole thing.
So it's just you had to just pay for more expensive lawyers. Is that basically what happened?
Yeah, basically. But and then also they still only approve your visa for 12 months from when you apply. So
right.
So we actually only got the visas approved in February this year, and they expire in November.
Shit.
Which I don't know if you've dealt with many US tours and stuff, but they're often booked a year in advance. Quite often. So to even find anything was going to be a mission, and we basically got kind of like we are taking a pretty big risk by like doing our own shows with a US band, like a co-headliner, but the booking agency we've been working with has been pretty awesome and very helpful. So fingers crossed it goes all right.
So how did you get the attention of Prosthetic Records as being a band that still hadn't like really left Australia and New Zealand?
It was so before Nightmare Withdrawals came out, we just sent it to a whole bunch of labels. And there was like 2 or 3 that kind of were like, oh, this is pretty sick. We could be keen on talking. And then Prosthetic, I think they just said like they just seemed like the coolest dudes and offered us the best deal pretty much. So and then so it was a couple of months after Nightmare Withdrawals came out, although I think I vaguely remember they sort of got back in touch with us after it came out, because they sort of like, this was sick, keep us in mind, but like they didn't want to really do anything because we already had it like planned out release wise, because we did it all ourselves. So they just got back in touch with us after that, and we're like, if you guys want to do something. So that's why Rejecting, we turned that around very quickly after Nightmare Withdrawals, which was pretty cool.
I think I had finished writing Rejecting by the time Nightmare Withdrawals came out.
Yeah.
So we were like just cranking, writing and practicing.
And also it was like COVID years as well. So we couldn't even really tour, apart from the odd New Zealand tour here and there. So it was just made sense to just keep writing. Well, Stu to keep writing.
And like the relationship with the Prosthetic has been amazing. Like they've been so awesome to us, and you hear horror stories about all kinds of labels around the world, and it's always going to be a risk. But, to be able to say that this whole thing with them has just been nothing but positive, it's pretty special, I think.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely hear mixed reports. Bands either really love Prosthetic or really hate him. I don't know.
I don't know.
Luck of the draw in a way, maybe.
I think we were lucky with like the A&R rep there, Steve. He was just very, very supportive of us from day one, even though we're from New Zealand. He was just like, whatever like we can do to help, like we'll do it. And obviously Prosthetic's been acquired by Monarch now, so he's actually not working for them, but he's still in touch, and like, you know, his said he'll come out to the Chicago show and stuff when we hit that. So we cool to actually meet him in person.
Was he already familiar with the band because of the viral old school moment?
Yeah. But once again, I think he was sort of one of the people that sort of made the connection a bit later. Like he was like, oh shit, like
you're that
yeah. Like yeah.
So we'll talk about the new album in a minute, but sorry to keep going back to it. But I'd really just like to know how you actually ended up being on that kids show in the first place.
Well, it's funny because we weren't actually the bands that they were looking for. So the whole thing was that we were practicing right behind Whitebait Studios, which was where they filmed that TV show and amongst other shows. And there's a whole lot of storage sheds there. So a bunch of bands all practicing all different kinds of music, all genres. So I think they were looking for like this reggae band that they had heard. And the producer had actually driven around into the cul-de-sac, and we just happened to be the people standing there. So she was like, are you guys the band that's been practicing? And we're like, yeah, we've been practicing. And so she's like, do you want to come on the show? Like, we're filming a show just over there. You guys sound great. And we were just like, absolutely. Like, of course, we'll definitely come on the show. And then was it this like the next night or the next week or something, we were there in the studio, and you know, we did like a sound check, and the whole place was like just dead silent. Like everyone in there was like, this is not the band.
What have we done?
Yeah, like,
well, even prior to that, 2 or 3 days before, they sent us like these like what do you call it, like a release form to like use our stuff.
Yep.
And like we even put on the form. At that point, we were like, we're a death metal band. They didn't say anything or anything. So a friend of ours who ended up being our sound engineer for quite a few years was working on the show, and he said that in the like producer's room, as soon as we started playing, someone was just like, who the fuck booked these guys?
Did someone lose their job over it, or was it?
I don't think so.
it ended up being like
it was
quite,
all fun.
Yeah, it was a fun time, and like, you know, Erin, she had a great time, and all the kids that were there, they had an awesome time. And I think, you know, we ended up like staying in touch with her a little bit after, and we've had like various communications with her over the years, and she still talks about it. Well, she was. I haven't heard from her in a long time now, but you know, she'd talk about it on her Instagram every now and then. So it was like something that stayed with her as well.
So did you guys kind of become like local celebrities overnight off that, or?
Well, there's a funny moment. This is back in the day, like having handy cams all the time and stuff. And we took, I can't remember who, maybe Jazz was with us, but he was like filming behind the scenes. And I like have still got all the footage, and I've never released it. We've never released it because it's just pretty cringe. But there's like video footage of us like signing copies of Twilight, like after we filmed the show for like kids in the foyer of the studio. It's just
So random.
It's just very, very bizarre. We've actually had a couple of kids who, well, now adults who have said they were in the in the kids mosh pit that have come to see us.
They come to your shows now.
Yeah. Which there was that one of the embankment I remember was pretty specifically. He was like, "That's me." He like had the video up on his phone. He was like, "That's me, that's me," and we're like, "Just look like a kid, man." Like, I'm no idea.
Strange.
Yeah. I guess dunking on the New Zealand accent by saying technical death metal became a bit of a meme amongst my friends back in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it still pops up pretty frequently.
It's one of those things, like, it's so strange that it happened. And like Nick said earlier, like, every now and then you try to escape it because you're just like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Yeah, you'll never escape it. Sorry.
Yeah, well, exactly. And there's been various times over the years where it's been like, okay, we'll never escape it. Like,
you could delete the 500,000 views from your channel if you wanted.
Yeah, well, we've definitely like made the video not public a few times. We also turned the comments off because there was about 7,000 comments on it, but most of them were just arguing what genre we actually were.
Right.
Because even objective me can say now that definitely isn't technical death metal.
It was a bit more deathcore-y back
Yeah,
then.
yeah, slam kind of.
I don't even think that we really knew. I don't even know why we called it that. Like when we uploaded
I think it was just to like try and get like a clickbaity
Yeah.
title. That was it. That was pretty much the reason.
I think even these days, technical death metal is like not exactly what you sound like to me. It's a lot more like, I guess progressive technical death metal, but
Yeah.
even still, it's got a bit of a kind of melodic sensibility that I don't really hear in the genre all too often.
The last two albums have definitely sort of been like by the publicists and stuff. They've always kind of said progressive death metal.
Yeah.
Like it feels a bit more like it fits, I think. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so new record coming out in October. The hardest thing about being God is that no one believes me. That's a pretty unreal album title. Tell us about that.
Well, so the whole album is a concept album, and it's basically about someone's descent into madness while they kind of fall in love with someone who is like a married person, and that like descent into obsession and madness. And you know, that's one of the lyrics of one of the songs. But the whole thing is like this whole big concept. And yeah, Nick, you can probably talk more about the lyrical stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of obviously we have a very long band name to start with, so that's also like we've tried the last couple of albums. We've also tried to like keep the album title short. But when we were once we'd tracked everything for this, we were kind of like looking through the lyrics and like throwing out names and blah 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 blah, and we sort of just had a notepad of just possible album titles from the lyrics. And it was actually after the session we recorded the title track, and I just put that lyric because that lyric is like a repeat at the end of the song, and I just put it in the list. And then like the next day, everyone was like, "That should be the album title," like just because it was so, I don't know if it was just so ridiculous, or it just definitely jumped out of the list for sure. But I think it's that song happens in the middle of the album, so it's like the middle of the story, and it's the protagonist has broken into the person they're stalking's like house, and basically surrounding themselves with their clothes, and ends up masturbating in their bedroom. And it's like sort of that stage where they have like the God complex, like that, you know, they're above all. And that's kind of...
So it's like a perverted psychological thriller.
Yeah. We really wanted to... Well, basically before this album, like Stace and Stu used to like share the lyrics, like sort of 50-50 each album. And then Stu had finished writing music for this album, and Stace was like, I've got this idea. Like it's kind of like imagine like a mini series, but like in an album. What do you guys think? And we were like, why not? Like give it a go. And had written... well, basically what ended up being 10 songs worth. And so we just spent a long time like getting the story right, and like sort of, this is the first time we've ever like had to decide on the track order before we started doing the vocals as well, because we needed to tell the story in order. Like we couldn't like do that afterwards in the mastering phase. We actually had to like decide right from the start. So that was kind of how it started. And then because we recorded this album, like we did it ourselves, or most of it, we just spent lots and lots of time like nailing all the vocal parts. And
What part didn't you do yourselves?
drums.
Oh, yeah.
Like we did it in a proper studio and everything, but yeah, guitars, bass, vocals, we all did ourselves. And so Stace, Stu and I spent just weekend after weekend and up in Stace's place in a makeshift vocal studio, just like hashing out ideas. And because it was also this kind of thing where he'd sort of written the lyrics but not really with which song they were going to go to, but he'd sort of like come up with the story, and we sort of like tried to make it fit. And so we had to like work out like the pacing and all that kind of stuff, and even some of the melodies we were coming up with like in the studio. But it was a very, very fun journey, and self-producing it, I think, there was times where like Stu and I were pushing Stace pretty hard. We were just like, do this, but do this like this, and do it again. And so it was kind of a different dynamic from the last couple of albums where Sam Sproul, who's based in Melbourne. He's done the last two. He did Nightmare and Rejecting. And so
what was his band called again?
Gatherer.
That's right.
Yeah. So he was the guy that used to be like, do it again, and now we're like telling our own our own vocalists how to do it. So, but I'm really glad with how it came out. There's like, yeah, I hope that people like listen to it and see the, like, I think Stace's dynamics and his vocals on this album are just like incredible. Like there's just so many different like voices and stuff that he does, and that in my opinion really add to the story. So yeah.
And it's interesting because the first half of the album is really kind of nice and poetic, and it's some of the lyrics are like, you know, so lovely that it's like strange to hear in like a death metal context. And then as the album goes on, it just gets more like crazed. And yeah, there's a lot to find in this album, I think.
So what was the process like for you, just writing, because you wrote all the music for it?
Yeah. So
does everyone else write their parts, or is it like, are you like the master composer?
musically, I write like everything, but then the other guys will put their own flair on whatever it is. Like especially with bass, like bass, I usually write stuff that's quite basic, and then Nick comes along and makes it like crazy. So yeah, just, and same with Kuda on the drums on this album. Like the drums on this album are like the most insane drums we've ever had. He really put a lot of like creativity into it, which is really cool. Yeah, really dynamic. Lots going on the drums. Lots going on the bass. Layers and layers and layers of like synth, which is something that we've never really delved into. We did a little bit on the last album, but yeah, this one here is really, we've really leaned into big soundscapes, and there's a lot more to grab onto, I think.
Yeah, there's a bit more of a, especially with, this is Coda's first record with us, and Dan's actually, the guitarist. But like after Tim left, and Tim had been in the band for 12 years on the drums, so Stu was very used to writing for Tim, like what he can play, and so having Coda come in sort of in the middle of that process was kind of like quite hard. I remember you saying like, I don't really know, like, because I don't really know how to write for this, so like a lot of the stuff Coda just took it and ran with it and just came up with his own stuff, and like would send us ideas, and we'd be like, yeah, that's sick, or like maybe do this, you know. And yeah, it was definitely like, while Stu writes, you know, most of the music, like it's definitely still collaborative in that sense.
Right. So how many guitarists have you been through since that fateful night in Christchurch?
So Ben replaced Jared, and then Dan's just replaced Ben. So yeah, Dan's been in the band for just over a year. Yeah. So but yeah, Ben's still involved in the band. He's just got a young family, and just he could see that we were wanting to do all this like US stuff, and he's just like, I've got a young kid, like you know, it's just too hard. But he's still involved. Like he still helps out with our merch and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool that he's still able to do that.
So he's like still part of the extended family.
Yeah. I mean, he's still in the group chat.
That's nice.
Yeah. And he's just like, he's such an amazing guy. Like it's so awesome to still have him around. And like he's writing like a kid's book at the moment that's coming out like early next year. So like his creativity.
This band has a thing with kids entertainment.
I never made that connection. But true, yeah, that's funny. Although he wasn't in the band then, so that's fine.
Right.
Yeah. No, that is cool. I didn't actually put that together.
Yeah, but I mean, he's doing amazing. Like the book is really cool, and you know, props to him, and you know, for hanging out and still helping us, even though he's not in the band. It's super cool. Takes a little bit of the stress off, you know.
So how did you find Kuda?
So Tim left just before we released Rejecting. So Tim's on Rejecting, like he played on it. And then we were sort of gearing up to sort of organise the tour dates and all this kind of stuff. And he was just like, I think I'm done. Like he said, he just said he'd lost the fun in it. Like, you know, and it happens, you know, we're still really good mates and stuff, but he just sort of, same kind of thing. Like he said that like it was more like a business to him, and he kind of missed the whole like playing on the weekend with the boys kind of thing. So we had a couple of ideas in mind for drummers, but we sort of were like, we really want to get the right person. We don't want to just like get old mate from down the street in Christchurch that we know. So we just put a ad up on social media and was like, hey, we're looking for a drummer. If you think you're keen, we'd like get in touch with us and we'll send you a song. And we had like, I think it was 18 or 19 drummers, like get in touch from all around the country, a couple from overseas, including Kuda.
There were people from like, there was
one guy from Bulgaria, which was pretty funny. But
It's not going to work, is it?
Yeah. But there was so basically they all emailed us and we sent them a song. I think it was from Nightmare Withdrawals, and we sent them a song and they said like, hey, video yourself playing this, and you send it back. And I think we got about 10 videos back. So out of the 18, we got about 10 videos. And then we basically narrowed it down to like 4. And then a couple of those 4 were, they like sent a video of them playing the song, but then they also sent another video of them like with their own flair on the same song, which was kind of cool because it was like, oh, okay, that's creatively what they can bring to the band. And Kuda was one of those guys. So we actually, we had one guy from Christchurch, we had one guy from Wellington, and then 2 guys from Australia, one in Melbourne and one in Kuda in Adelaide. So we got down to those 4, and then we basically flew each one to Christchurch for a weekend, and we gave them 6 songs to learn, like 3 off Nightmare and 3 off Rejecting, and then just hung out with them for the weekend. Did a couple of rehearsals, took them out for dinner, just like see if we vibed, and we did that for all 4. So like over,
It's a very expensive, time-consuming process to find the right guy.
Yeah,
Better than making a mistake, I guess.
Yeah, and like even when we, like I think Kuda was the last one to come too, because just with the logistics and stuff, it was a bit of a mission to get him from Adelaide. But it was one of those things. I think we all like, as soon as he left, we were kind of like, we think that's the guy. Like we think he like I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, but like at the end of like his audition or whatever, he like got out of his bag like a handwritten letter, and he like read it to us, and he just wanted to say like thanks for the opportunity, but he obviously just didn't want to fuck it up. That's why he wrote it down,
Right.
And we were just like, whoa, this is like,
that's really sweet.
really, really cool and really sweet. And he's quite a bit younger than us too. Like he's 28 and we're all in our mid 30s,
Yep.
So there's definitely a bit of an age barrier in there. And then we were just like, well, are we really going to go forward and have a drummer that's based in Australia? Like, how is this going to work? But yeah, I think we sort of deliberated for a couple of days, and then we just like got in touch with them and we're like, hey man, we think you're the guy. Like, this is what we're thinking. Like, we fly you over a couple times a year. We focus all our energy into that week or 2, do whatever we need to do, and then blah, blah, blah. And he was, he took a day to think about it, and then was like, yep, keen as.
So how regularly can you actually tour, or how often do you play New Zealand?
So we haven't done, we did 2 shows last year in New Zealand. We played with Nile when they played. And then we did a show which was supposed to be like our US fundraiser show, but then obviously that didn't happen. So we only did 2 shows last year, which kind of sucked. But it did mean we had the whole year to do this album, which was kind of nice. But we just plan things very far in advance.
Yeah.
So like, and we all lead pretty busy lives anyway, as you do when you get to your mid to late 30s. So it's kind of like planning it in advance just saves hassle later. Like, so we know that like Kuda's arriving this date, we'll book some shows, or usually we book the shows and then we're like, Kuda, you need to be here. Then we'll do the shows and then whatever else we need to do.
Is it just the 3 main cities that everyone else does that you guys play? I remember being told last time I was in New Zealand that sometimes bands like 8 Foot Sativa would go and do like 20 show tours and play all sorts of random little towns and stuff. Is that actually a viable thing in New Zealand?
So there are some bands that definitely can do that. There's quite a well-known, I guess, alternative rock metal band called Devilskin, female-fronted.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys are awesome. We actually played with them at the Christchurch Town Hall a few years ago, which was pretty sick because it was like 1,500 packed room, and we were like playing death metal at the start, and then also this band Cora, who are like a reggae band, but they're also very metal influenced. Like a lot of their early stuff's quite like heavy for reggae, which is, but so we played with them. But yeah, Devil's kind of like one band that can do that, and they do all the regional towns, but I just don't think we have that kind of reach. So we just do like Auckland, Wellington, Christchurch, Dunedin. We have done a couple of off the beaten track spots, and you know, occasionally you get like 80 to 100 people, which isn't too bad. There's like it's run every year for the last 10 or so years, but the Napier Death Fest, which is like in Hawke's Bay in the North Island, that's pretty cool. They get like a couple of hundred people there, and they just get bands from all around the country. But yeah, it's definitely a bit harder, and also because of New Zealand's population base, it's just so hard to get people out of the whole like you have to do gigs on the weekends. Like midweek gigs don't really happen unless it's like a big international.
Yeah, the international bands like can only really do the midweek gigs over there because they need to, you know, make the most of the weekends here. So it seems like all the internationals play the midweek shows in New Zealand.
Yeah, that's correct. And so I'm definitely looking forward to seeing like the other side of that in the US, where it's like just a show every day.
Yeah,
you know, and like the other thing is like how early shows start in the US. Like I've seen heaps of the posters, and it's like doors at 6.
So how many shows are you doing over there?
20. Yeah,
all back to back. You got a couple of days off.
Couple of days off here and there. So I think the most we do in a row is 6, and then there's like a day off. So yeah, there's going to be definitely a fun one, because I don't think we've ever done more than 4 shows in a row when we did Australia in 2023. So definitely some endurance and stamina issues might come into it.
Who's the band that you said you're co-headlining?
Volcandra, they're another prosthetic band.
Right.
They're actually in the studio at the moment recording their new album. But yeah, they the booking agent just put us in touch, and we were familiar with them from prosthetic, but yeah, since the tour's been announced, we've like got to know them, and yeah, checking out their stuff is pretty cool.
Nice. So have you ever considered relocating the band? Like I know a lot of New Zealand bands will come to like, you know, Melbourne and make a home base here of it.
It's definitely been talked about. I don't think there's ever been any real like headway though. It's kind of, you know, you're expecting a lot, like, you know, I think I'm the only guy in the band that doesn't have a mortgage. So like, you know, so there's, you know, people are pretty well rooted like with relationships and stuff. I think we did consider it like maybe 7 or 8 years ago when we were like going through lineup changes and stuff, and we sort of just like put it on the table, but it was kind of like, oh, nah, like, but yeah, I mean, there was a while there where it seemed like every good band that was coming out of Wellington in New Zealand was moving to Melbourne. Yeah. Like, well, Gatherer originally from Wellington, they were called the City Sunrise back then. And then Ekaname, who were based here for a long time, they're from Wellington. So it was, yeah, I mean, it definitely crossed our minds. But yeah, I'm glad we stayed in Christchurch, to be honest.
I think as the world's kind of gotten smaller, it's so easy to get anywhere now. Like, it's not such a big deal. You know, how many bands around the world now, the members live all over the place. And, you know, with you know, even just jamming and stuff, we'll get together. Like the show we played last week was the first time we played together as a band in the band room in like almost a year. And because everyone is just jamming in their own time, we come together and it's like, oh, sweet. It's like we haven't stopped practicing that entire time. So I think it just shows that, you know, with the right people, you can just live wherever. It's just more expensive.
Yeah, it's just about adapting, like to, you know, there's definitely things in life that we do that probably we wouldn't have been able to do if we're like practicing 2 or 3 times a week, you know. Like for me personally, it works super well the way we do it now because I've like adapted my life around it as well. So I know like, all right, for this month, I need to be completely focused on Blindfolded, you know, and then the rest of the time I can do whatever.
So what do you two guys do outside of the band for like your regular day-to-day?
Well, my whole life is just music, drag racing. So I just won my 7th national championship. So that's pretty much all I care about, music, drag racing. I do have a day job, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm actually studying full time at the moment. I'm doing my honours degree in mathematical physics, so that is keeping me pretty busy this year.
Shit, that's
big
sounds
brain.
complicated.
Yeah. Turns out it's quite hard. But no, I sort of went back to study after COVID, really, because like the music industry just kind of, I was working for a music retailer in New Zealand, was managing a shop, and then I'd always wanted to go back and study, and COVID kind of gave me the kick up the ass to actually go and do it. And 5 years later, I'm still doing it. So I don't really know what's next, but that definitely keeps you pretty busy.
I guess it's kind of, good, convenient that you're about to go tour the world, start touring the world like as a student, and you don't really have a full-time career holding you down yet.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has its perks. Like the US tour has definitely created some issues for me at uni, just like with timing and stuff. Like my final exams for my honors are while we're away, so I'm like currently working through that with the uni to try and.
They're being cool about it.
Yeah, mostly. They're pretty understanding. There's a student or another co-student of mine she's just gone and competed in like the world canoe polo champs in China, and so she was like basically saying it's basically like she's representing her country in sport, like we're representing our country in music, like so it would be weird if the uni didn't kind of recognize that, but I sport's always put of a higher pedestal, I think, so than the arts in most countries it seems. So they must have been pretty cool about it. I'm still waiting to hear about some stuff, but I mean I've got other stuff going on. I run like a small business that puts like poker tournaments on in pubs around the city.
Yeah, right.
Which doesn't really make money, but but it's like it's a passion thing, and
And Stu, so you are a literal car racer. That's
correct.
insane.
Yeah. So I drive a what's called a competition altered, which it's quarter mile drag racing. So my car does the quarter mile in 7.6 seconds at just under 300 Ks. So it's gotten pretty serious over the years, but it's something my family's always done, and I was kind of lucky enough to be born into it. So
my next question was going to be, how the fuck do you get into that? So there you go.
Yeah. My family started in like the early 80s, and my dad and uncles, they've got a really crazy car. So yeah, it's a hell of a lot of fun, massive adrenaline rush. Can be pretty damn scary at times, but it's super loud and it's super fast, so it's kind of like a good equivalent to what we do musically.
I was going to say it's one of the most metal jobs I think I've heard of.
It was definitely not a job. I wish it was a job.
Oh, right.
But it's a hell of a lot of fun.
So you don't win money for like winning races?
I mean, not enough to pay any bills.
Yeah.
It's still a fairly small sport as far as motorsport goes. But yeah, like I say, hell of a lot of fun. We get to travel around the country doing it.
And otherwise you're just working on music? Is it just Blindfolded, or you do other stuff in music?
I also play drums in a band called Plague of the Fallen, which is actually my brother's. So my brother writes everything for that band, and he's the vocalist. And yeah, we're putting out an EP later this year. We released an album last year called Amongst the Rats, which has done pretty well as well. And yeah, the new EP is shaping up to be pretty sick. Really, definitely the most aggressive stuff we've ever done. It's really like straight up death metal, kind of like Suffocation styles, just like, it's not progressive. It's not like Blindfolded. It's just like the heaviest we can possibly be.
Some good old fashioned slamming fun.
Yeah, it's sick.
So you were talking before about how you had written this record before the last one had even come out. How far ahead are you with the follow-up to the latest?
I'm 2 songs deep, and this is probably the longest I've gone without writing for Blindfolded, because I was kind of like, man, I put so much into this one that's about to come out. I kind of needed a break, and because I realized I had never actually really had a break. The last like Nightmare, Rejecting, and then into this one has just been like constant like creating. So it's kind of nice to, have a little bit of a break. And now that that kind of break is over, I'm feeling real good about writing more music. So yeah, it's been good.
So the first single, what just came out today?
Yeah.
Have you been checking the comments? What's the response like?
Well, first of all, like the video, video came out today as well. But we literally only filmed the video, our parts of the video last Friday, and then Matt who directed it and edited it had to turn it around by Monday to get it submitted to the label for release. So it's been a pretty crazy week, just going back and forth trying to get everything going. But yeah, I mean, we only sort of landed a few hours ago, so I haven't really checked.
That like came out while we were flying here.
Yep.
So like when we landed, it was like, oh, like,
cool.
Stu, there's like things that you've missed in the post, and like, oh shit, okay, like go fix a few things. But yeah, it looks like people are stoked on it, and it was kind of like a surprise drop because everything's happened like real quickly with this one, and the label's been amazing in the way that they were like, you know, we want the album to come out on the first show of the American tour. So we've kind of then gone backwards from there and built like when the singles are going to come out. So like it's like I said earlier, like with Prosthetic, it's been so positive, and the fact that they will like come to the party on things like that, you know, it's not like, oh, you've got an album finished and then we can fit it into our schedule and it'll come out in 2 years' time. It's like, let's get it out when it needs to come out. Like this is when it should come out. So
yeah, I think originally it was going to come out like November, but then with the US tour and stuff, they were just like, nah, let's move it forward. I mean, there is a like couple of downsides. Like I don't think the vinyl's going to be ready by the release date because it's production times and stuff. But I think overall it's going to be a net positive that it comes out right on the start of the tour.
And so that video clip you were talking about, that's like a visual representation of one chapter of this
correct
story you're telling?
Yeah, so Compulsion, that's the fourth song. So that's when the stalker protagonist goes to the house and like spies on them basically, and then the next song, which is the title track, is the one where he breaks into the house when they're not home, and
it's all downhill from there.
yeah, it's quite. You were saying before about Stu was saying before about like the lyrics being quite poetic and stuff. Like the second track, Cafene, is literally a Portuguese word that means to run your fingers through your lover's hair, which is not something you would typically associate with a death metal band, but. So yeah, there's definitely we've tried to like, I don't know, as Stu said, have things to gram onto with this one.
There's some guest vocals at the end of it.
Yeah. So Hera, she's based in Christchurch, but she's Icelandic singer, kind of folk pop stuff that she's done over the years, and we really, I don't know how much we can give away about the album, so that's because kind of want people to discover. But there's a lot of twists and turns along the way through the album, and her vocals at the end of the album kind of is like a big plot point.
So she's representing a character, or
yeah. So, but we kind of had a few ideas, and then someone suggested her, and we were like, yeah, like let's hit her up, and we sort of explained it to her the concept, and we gave her a version of the track. We gave her the lyrics as well with no melody in mind. So we kind of were like, just run wild with it. We had a couple of ideas which we ended up sort of working on in the studio, but she had the track for like a week or so, and then she came and tracked it, and we messed around with it for a few hours just to get it right, and pretty happy with how it came out. Like it's definitely not something we've ever done before. Like we've had guest vocalists before, but her particular style I think is it might be quite a shock. To
like what she's done on the song is one of the most, like to me, it's one of the most amazing things I've ever heard us do. Like what she did with the vocals, because I wasn't there when she tracked it, and then when we got like a first mix back, I was just like, what? Like it, like I can't wait for people to hear it because it's like I've got a real thing for like vocal harmonies, like good vocal harmonies. And she just has all these harmonies, and it's just like, oh my God, like amazing. She did such a great job.
If we play that song live, I don't quite know how we're going to pull it off like without her though. Like, so it's,
You ever have anything on track?
Yeah. I mean, I guess so. I just think it would be cooler to like have someone actually do it. But yeah, I mean, tracks is obviously the easy solution, but we'll see.
Cool. Well, do you guys have anything else you'd like to cover before we wrap this up?
thanks for playing with us tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the show.
Dude, I'm looking forward to checking out Run. I remember emailing you during COVID about that first EP, and just being like stoked on it. So
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm keen to see it in the flesh. Like, yeah, it's gonna be.
I actually remember that because you were like, boys, you've got to listen to this. It was one of those albums where Nick's like really pushing us to listen to it. Like, okay, Nick, we'll listen to it.
Yeah, I do that a lot. Sorry.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Run playing with you guys there's something about the melody that kind of really, it has a lot of similarities, even though Run's not like a death metal band.
Yeah, sick.
Yeah, I think I definitely can see, especially like probably the rejecting stuff. I think there's a bit of crossover there for sure.
Cicada, that song, I was like, oh, that part could be like a Run part.
Yeah. Man, that's we played in Christchurch last week, and Stu's dad was at the show, and he's a man of few words, but he came up to me, he's like, Cicada, that's the one.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite song off that record.
Yeah, cool. Well, we better play it tonight then, I guess.
Yeah, Dad loves that track.
Hopefully you don't have your other guitarist doesn't fall head first into his amp stack.
Well, Dan, if you're listening, you've got some shoes to fill maybe.
Have about 30 beers.
Yeah.
And see how the set goes.
Yeah.
Those days are well behind us now.
We're Blindfolded and Led to the Woods, and this is our second show as a 4-piece.
I mean, let's not take anything off the table.
Yeah.
I mean, we have always said, like, I think one thing I will say is, like, we've always tried to be a band, even before we took it seriously or whatever, that, like, you should be able to go to and enjoy even if you don't like the music, you know? Like, we always wanted to put on a show, maybe not that much of a show, but like...
I really enjoyed that show, but for the wrong reasons for you guys. It was just...
Well, yeah. I mean, 10 years later, I guess thanks for giving us a shot at redemption finally.
It's like... He wouldn't get off. You're trying to tell him to get off the stage. He wouldn't get off the stage, and then like he's trying to fight you guys. He's fucking swinging fists, and the security guard gets up and drags him off.
Yeah, I remember Stace, or security guard said to Stace, he's like, "Do you want me to get him off?" And Stace's like, "Yep." You know, so yeah.
How did that conversation go the next day? Would have been fucked.
A little bit of an intervention, you know, but that's sometimes what friendship comes to. You know, it's like. You're actually got to look out for people who are struggling with things like that. And sometimes, you know, reaching out for help looks different for everyone. So, you know, you got to.
So you guys are all still friends?
Absolutely, man. Yep.
That's real nice.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think we've talked about the album enough.
Well,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Stu, Nick, thank you so much for joining us, and
thank you.
Looking forward to the gig tonight. And good luck with your adventures in the United States and with the new record.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I mean, I've said it many times, but I'm still not going to breathe easy until we actually walk through LAX customs and get out the other side. Yeah. So if we don't, we might have another story for you.
Yeah, we'll see how we go. Thanks for listening to Music Is My Life. This podcast is self-produced by me, Lachlan Watt. I'd like to thank Audio-Technica Australia for providing the high-quality equipment that has made this possible, as well as Patrick Galvin at Hollowbone Studio for the design. The killer theme music that you are currently hearing was written by the legends TJ Cowgill and Sam Saljuki. Catch you in the next episode.